We took the month of July off, obviously. We did have a family vacation, but otherwise, we were still working for the most part.
Yeah. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, though. Thinking that we were not going to be doing Tuesdays at 2, I thought I'd get a lot more done.
Yeah. Well, there was 2 trips we had to make, so that takes up time.
Yeah.
It's like you always think there's more hours in a day, more days in a week, more. I mean, it's August.
August.
How that happened?
I don't know. But I think we're supposed to do a sew along in August.
I don't know. Does anybody know about that?
I think so.
Hi, Marlene.
From all the kit orders that we've been filling like mad. And by the way, as we go through and talk about the sew along that starts next week, you still have plenty of time to order your kit or get your pattern or whatever it is that you need so you can be prepared. So you didn't lose out. You still can participate. And even if you get the kit now and you watch, but you don't have time to sew it, you'll be able to go back and watch it again. And I think watching it more than once is when you start to really, get all the details. First time through, you kind of get some of it, and then you go back through and you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I was supposed to do this or that.
Yeah.
So it's good to watch it twice before you start sewing.
Good. All right. Yeah. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. But first, before we forget, we wanted to do our drawing.
Yes. Most of you will remember because we had quite a few posts, I think over 20, or was it 20 exactly? But we asked you to sew in July because you'd have some extra time. You weren't watching us. But to post what you had sewn. And if you didn't get a chance to look at them, please go and look at them. I'm sure you'll be as inspired as we were. Everything from bridal wear to costume, children sewing, t-shirt extravaganza.
Oh, yes.
Somebody made a whole bunch of t-shirts. I think that was Linda. It might have been Linda. Anyway, just a ton of stuff. Teresa posted several things. Lots of great stuff. So
Teresa's outfitting all the weddings.
Yeah.
all the people in all the weddings. And she's doing a great job. Danny, we are going to talk a little bit about the sew along today and how to prepare for it, but it officially starts next week. So
and next week
you do have that one more week to get ready.
And next week we'll be covering cutting, marking, and interfacing. So it'll be just the bare beginning. So you still have plenty of time for sure.
So if you haven't got a chance to go look at those posts on our Facebook page, do it. It's really fun to put faces with the names that we're always interacting with on here. And see what everybody's making, because again, it didn't have to be an Islander pattern. You could be using Islander techniques or Islander fabric. So there was a lot of fabric but a different pattern. There was also a lot of Connie's patterns, too,
and a lot of comments about thumb under, fingers on top. And how that made a difference in their sewing or teaching somebody else to sew. So for those of you who have still clinging to your pins and maybe not really giving it a try, this might inspire you to give it a try. It makes a big difference in the joy of sewing, not to mention the speed. I think that's where the joy comes. I don't know.
Right. Well, it looking more professional, it going together easier, usually quicker. I mean,
really builds your confidence, I think. For sure.
Hi, Cassie. Cassie's one that put in a picture of a dress that she made. Do you know what that was for? Or
no, she did not tell me. But let me tell you, people, it's black velvet, full length, long sleeved. It was not
awesome.
A 5-minute project by any means. But Cassie, tell us what you made that black gown for. That'd be fun to know.
She's wearing it right now.
She's going to be Elvira.
At work.
She's wearing it at work.
She's at work,
in her office with the
and
door
I made
shut.
up that she's wearing it right now.
Okay.
But maybe she is. You never know.
No, it
Seems
don't.
like it'd be a little hot, though.
Yeah, for August. Where does she live?
Oregon? Is it Oregon or Washington? Oregon?
Okay, well, it's moderate out there, but still.
I
little
mean,
too
for,
hot for
for black velvet, still a little too hot. Okay, Linda, if I don't remember that question, ask me again when we get to that part. She has a question about the everybody shirt.
Okay.
And we'll definitely get that taken care of for you. I just want to see if Cassie answers before I get into the drawing and get distracted. But I do know that she's at work, so.
Yeah, but she said she tells him not to disturb her. She's in a meeting. But you never know.
You never know. Okay, so I've brought back my special drawing cup, all the way back from our very first drawing.
Yes.
So let's see it. Oh, I'll tell you what you're winning. We're gonna pull three winners, and each winner will get a $25 gift card. It's actually a $25 credit for islandersewing.com.
Mm-hmm.
So we will get that taken care of for you. Brenda will get it put on your account. So that's what our three winners will get that I'm going to pull
That's right.
in just a second.
All
After I say happy birthday to Patricia.
Happy birthday, Patricia.
Hope you're having a great day.
Yes. Everybody deserves to have a great day on their birthday.
Yes. Okay, so three winners. Let's see. The first winner of the $25 gift card is Betsy Niswanger. I always see your name, Betsy, but I never tried to say it, and now I was forced. So,
You do feel like you could say that wrong.
yeah, I mean, it seems like straightforward, but also you could be like way, way off. So, Betsy, I think she's our only Betsy, at least that we see participate
Quick
here. Yeah.
Quick quiz. What did she post?
She posted that she was practicing her Islander techniques. She made herself a dress. She had the funky.
Oh, and she made that cute little bug
And she made
dress
the
for-
dragonfly because her granddaughter is very into dragonflies.
Yes.
Did I pass the quiz?
You did. You impressed me.
Yes. So the dragonfly dress she made for her granddaughter, and she made a very fun. I think it has like a ruffle up here.
Print dress.
It's a simple dress. She said that in the post. It's a simple dress for like a very busy, fun, printed
Straight
fabric.
summer dress.
Yes,
yeah.
it looks great on her. All right, so Betsy will get $25 credit. Number 2. Make sure I only pull one out and I'm not looking. And it goes to Cassie. And Cassie posted the black velvet dress. Check that out. Maybe one day we'll find out what she's doing with it. So Betsy, you'll get a credit. Hummingbirds. Did I say hummingbirds? What did I say? Dragonflies?
You said dragon.
Oh, so close. Hummingbirds.
All right. Well, that's 1.5 out of 2 for you.
I even knew that too. It just came out of my mouth wrong. Because I thought that was really cool for a kid that little to be
Into hummingbirds.
into hummingbirds. All right.
One more.
Okay. Last one goes to $25 gift card for Islander Sewing Systems. Goes to Roseanne Cowan. And she made pants that she learned from your webinar.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, and she really had a good fit on them. She said, yes, I remember that was really heartfelt for me because there's only one way to get pants to fit right, and that's the way to do it. And when you do it, you see what I mean,
Yes.
and then you're happy forever.
And she made some travel bags and like a wallet thing.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yep.
a card holder.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
There was all kinds of great stuff. There was those bowl cozies for the
The
microwave.
microwave koozies and hot pads, and
Yeah.
we are just so impressed. You guys are just sewing July away.
I know.
You literally did sew July away.
Yeah, there you
Now it
go.
is August. So congratulations, Roseanne, Cassie, and Betsy, and everybody that got your wonderful projects done.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we inspired you to finish off some of those things. I know someone was making a quilt, a baby was coming.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. It's fun. It's very fun to see what others are making, even if it isn't something you'd make. It's fun to see, and you never know. You might be inspired 2 years from now to
inspired.
do that.
All right, so I will give those names to Brenda, and she will get those credits on your account. If she has any questions, or if you have any questions, we'll reach out, or you reach out.
Email, please.
islandersewing@comcast.net is the best way to reach us. All right, so next week we start our Did you bring a pattern?
Yeah.
For people who don't know.
I did.
I did. It's not right here. But it's very close. Oh. So we are going to be doing a sew along for the Everybody shirt, and I'm going to take it out of the plastic. Just
So I have to put it back.
I'll put it back for you too, okay?
Okay, you can put the button back too.
No, I'm not doing that. All right, just to help with the glare there. So this is our Everybody shirt. It's a really nice fitted women's button up.
It starts at a size 2 and goes all the way to a 4X. So we can fit everybody.
Everybody. And you could see it's got the 2 different lengths. It's very fun. We have a few behind us.
So if you're new or you missed the information, we do regular sew-alongs here. We have for a couple years now. And each week we build on that sew-along until we finish the one particular pattern. And we always provide kits so that you don't have to scurry around, especially if you don't have a quality fabric store in your area to purchase the supplies. We put it all together in a kit. But if you do have those supplies in your stash and you just need the pattern, that's available as well. But by all means, join us. You'll be very glad you did. You're going to learn techniques about shirt making that will impact everything you sew from now on, because you're going to learn some really great techniques about collars and cuffs. And many, many garments have collars and cuffs, plackets, just construction itself. So we think you're going to really like it, and it will, even if that's the only shirt you ever make, it'll impact all the rest of your sewing. So,
And truly, if it's not, this specific shirt doesn't interest you, or you don't have the time to do it right now, it's still worth watching, because you're going to learn tips and tricks and things to do in the future. It'll be housed here on our Facebook page, but also, as you know, we have the YouTube channel now, and that makes it very easy to just look up and watch from there as well. So if you want to rewatch an episode, or if you missed it, that's where you can find it.
yeah. So, yeah, we're very pleased with the YouTube addition to our videos that we do here on Tuesdays at 2, because it gives us a chance, if you haven't visited yet, there's a link on there called Playlist, and that gives us a chance under Playlist to put all of the episodes from one sew-along together, so you don't have to search through all of our episodes on Facebook. You can go right to the YouTube, click on the Everybody's, or click on the 5 Easy Tees, or the Easy Caper, or the Islander shirt. Those are some of the sew-alongs we've already done, and along with the Easy V. So you can just click on that, and it'll show you each episode one right after the other.
Even Sherry says that she's made an Everybody shirt before, but she's looking forward to learning some new tips and stuff.
Is that
Make
Sherry
more-
Gregory?
No, Sherry Sparks.
Sherry Sparks. Okay, good, Sherry.
All right. So, what So there's still, you said there's still kits available,
Yes,
and you can still get them in time.
we are completely out of lawn, so but we have beautiful cotton shirting, and the cotton shirting is the kits are right there under kits, or if you go to fabric, there's also a kit option there. So either way, you'll get there, and there are several cotton shirtings available that are very very attractive. Good fabrics to work with, take the press well, good to with the needle and everything. So we try to curate the best collection so you have the greatest ease and best chance for good success with your first shirt, even if it's not your first shirt.
I just put the link to the kits in the comments too, so that'll be easy for you to get right there if you wanted to take a look and see what it's all about and what fabrics we have left.
Yeah, we have beautiful fabrics. Well, I just got a few new ones in. And then with the kit, you get these beautiful buttons. So you're going to get the buttons, the interfacing, the fabric, and the pattern. So you need very little else to make your, other than thread. Now remember, those of you who bought the lawn kits or purchased lawn to make your shirt out of, we want to use fine thread. And we've talked about that several times, that we want to use fine thread, and Gutermann as well as Coats and Clark make a fine thread. And
that we have used. We're sure other people do as well, but those two we know we have used and can recommend.
They're fairly easy to obtain. The dual duty, for instance, fine, is on sewingparts.com, right? Sewing parts.
I put it in the comments before,
Yeah.
so maybe it'll just come up in my...
They have,
Yeah, Sewing Parts online.
the largest selection of colors. You could go to your local Joann's, and they may have 3 or 4 colors of the fine, because they just don't get that much call for it. And as we know, with retail stores, they have to go with what sells the most, not necessarily have all the little extras and specialty items. Anyway, it's a 60 weight. So what you normally sew with is a 40 weight. So your basic all-purpose construction thread is generally a 40 weight. And with home sewing, the way they measure thread, the higher the number, the finer the thread. It's exactly the opposite in the industry, which drives me crazy, because it depends on who you're buying thread from, in my world, what the number is. And I'm always getting it all confused because there just isn't any special way to collate, to cross-reference them. But anyways, you're going to buy home sewing thread, so you want 60 weight.
All right, and I just put a link to that sewingpartsonline.com right to the thread if you wanted to look at it there, either to purchase it or just see what we're talking about so you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, we're not affiliated with that site.
But hey, if anybody's out there and wants to us to be affiliated.
Anyway, they do have a lot of, items that you would need. So it seems like a pretty good website, a good reference to have.
All right, so as we said, you do not have to have anything really prepared for next week. Janet's going to start with cutting, marking, interfacing. If they were going to do something in advance, what would you recommend them to do in advance?
Get your fabric prepared. So if you know that you have a fabric that has a good possibility of shrinking, then you need to pre-shrink it. Now, you do whatever works for you. For me, I have a cycle on my wash machine that is just a rinse and spin. That's really all you need. You don't have to put soap and put it through all the different agitation cycles. It just needs to get good and wet. And then if you're going to put the garment in the dryer After it's made, then put the fabric in the dryer before it's cut, and then you'll have your pre-shrinking done. If it's a fabric that you're not sure of, and especially if it's a 60-inch Italian shirting or some of those really nice shirtings, they come from the industry and they don't have to be pre-shrunk, because nobody's pre-shrinking 10,000 yards of fabric before they make Brooks Brothers shirts. So when you find that kind of fabric, it doesn't need to be pre-shrunk, and you don't want to pre-shrink it because it's got a really nice sizing in it that makes it easier to sew and press. So cut a 4-inch square out of one corner, get that good and wet, put that through the dryer, bring it back to the fabric, put it back in the exact place you took it out of, and you'll know for a fact whether it shrunk at all or not. If it did not shrunk, don't wash your fabric, and you'll be glad you didn't. And Jessica left me now. So, as I put out a newsletter a couple weeks ago about how to be really ready. So one of the things that you want is to get a good fit. So taking proper measurements is the first step. So make sure that you are taking proper measurements. If you have to measure yourself, we recommend the new item that we are carrying, which is the Easy Check measuring tape. And you can see that video on our website on how that works. But it has a little snap, a little red snap, and it snaps in place, and you can tighten it after you snap it. And then when you unsnap it, your measurement will show up. I don't know if I can get this to focus. I'm not good at this like Jessica.
Not everybody can be as good as me.
There, I think that's in focus, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that red line indicates the exact measurement. So make sure you get good measurements. And then when you choose your size, make sure that you're paying special attention to the bust area for the size that you need. Other things can be adjusted more easily than the bust area. So if you've made a sloper, use your sloper to check your pattern and to make sure you cut the right size. What I've heard from 2 different people so far, that they cut one size and then realized the fitting was going to be more difficult, and they cut down a size, and then the fitting was a lot easier. So sometimes you think, well, I'll just get bigger and that'll help and I can take it in. Well, not always. Sometimes you want to get as close to your measurements as possible. And be sure to look at, on our patterns, we like to put the finished garment measurements on. So take a look at that too. Because let's say that the 6'8", it says you make that shirt for somebody who has a 36 to 37 inch bust. The finished garment measurements are 39.5. So if you want 3.5 to 2.5 inches of ease, then that's probably the right size for you. But if you're looking for more or less ease, then you may need to go up or down. So try to get a good indication of which size. Because like I said, 2 people made a muslin and then had to go back and start over with a smaller one and make it easier to fit. And okay, let's see, what else did I have? Make a muslin. If you can at all muster the fortitude to make a muslin, you will be so glad you did. And again, as you can see in the little lavender one behind me we're doing for Brenda, we didn't put the collar on. We didn't put the cuffs on. We didn't even put a placket on. We just want to make sure it's going to fit her. And so we just did the 2 fronts, 1 yoke, 1 back, and a sleeve. Put that together and fit it on her body. Made the adjustments and then corrected the pattern to fit the measurements that we found with the muslin. So definitely consider making a muslin. And then it's just a matter of getting all your supplies together. If you have good pressing tools, they will be very helpful too. We will be using the point presser, the clapper, and the seam stick. Those are all 3 fabulous wood pressing tools that we carry and we will be demonstrating. So if you're not sure about them, you'll be able to watch the demonstration. If you'd like to see the demonstration before, it's on on our YouTube channel, not the YouTube.
The YouTube.
That's on the YouTube. And I think there's a special playlist about tips and techniques or something. You'll find it there. So anyways, that'll kind of get us started. Now, you remember when we talked about doing a fitting muslin before. And I know several of you probably watched that and then now are trying to do it and maybe have forgotten a few of the tips. So I thought today I'd go over a few of the order that you should be using to fit your muslin, and then we can do some discussion and take some questions.
Sure. And Pamela was wondering, what about the fabric if they bought it from us? Does it need to be pre-shrunk?
Well, it depends on the fabric. So you would have to, again, ask, I don't know which one you bought. If you bought the lawn, the Japanese lawn, I never tested the Japanese lawn. So that's what I'm going to be using, and I went ahead and I did what I said. I put it through a cycle to get it wet and then put it through the dryer. So I don't know about the Japanese lawn. And I don't know which fabric you bought, Pamela. So again, use that 4-inch square and do your own test, and you'll feel a lot more sure of yourself if you do the test.
And then she also asked, do you have a package of the pressing tools we will use?
There is a bundle if you buy all three. I think is that what she's asking, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. If you go to Notions under pressing,
I'll put the link there.
you'll see the wooden pressing tools. And again, they're available separately, or at there's a special discounted price if you purchase all three at once. What's really cool about the pressing tools, I wasn't expecting to do an infomercial about them, but is that you only have to buy them once because they will last you the rest of your life. They're very beautifully constructed by a woodworker, and they're only made out of a beautiful hardwood. So they are not likely to wear out or get any kind of damage from use.
No.
Okay, so we talk about the muslin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have any specific questions except for, well, I don't have any questions about the muslin, but one very specific question on how to fix something.
Okay, tell me what it is, and then maybe I can address it while I do my demo.
How to adjust for large bicep.
Okay, that is not my specialty. I'm fortunate enough to have not ever had to do that, but I do believe that it's in the sloper patterns, and I will take a look in a minute. I'll need one of those patterns and see if I can help you with that. But let's start with the basic torso fit. So you're going to make a muslin, and again, we're going to cut the fronts. Normally you have 2 yokes because you face the yoke, but we only put 1 in because we don't need a facing, we just need a fit, right? And then we cut the back. Of course we have these side pieces because there's more detail and shaping to this shirt than you normally see. So we have this whole inset right here. And this will help us get the fitting correct. Okay, and I think, who was it? Mary Ann, maybe? I was working with somebody just before we went on air, and I told her to make sure that the seam was centered under the arm. So that's important, that you want that centered under the arm. But let's start with the shoulders. So before we sew all this together, we're going to set the fronts on the dress form. And then we're going to have the center front marked on both sides. And then you're going to just pin all the way down to hold that center front together before you start working on anything else. So we'll say that I just did that all the way down. And then we're going to go to the shoulder. And this shoulder would not have been, let me do this one, would not have been sewn together. But what you're going to find in some cases, to get this shoulder seam to sit right on top of the shoulder, straight. So keep that in mind. You may see a bubble on one side or the other. Often it's back here, is the bubble. So you'll need to move that up and smooth it and then pin your seam allowance here. And what you're going to find in a lot of cases is that there'll be more fabric from one side in the seam allowance than the other. In other words, you're used to having the raw edges stay together when you create a seam. That's not at all what we're doing here. So throw that out the window. We don't care how this ends up. We don't care if one side has 2 inches and the other side has 1/8 of an inch. All we care about is that this seam stays straight on that shoulder. And then, once we get both shoulders adjusted and straight like that, we will, when we get done, we'll be going over to our pattern. And we will mark that stitching line on the pattern. And then create the seam allowance beyond the stitching line so that when we do sew it together, we will have raw edges together. We will have an equal distance seam allowance front and back. But not while we're fitting, most likely not while you're fitting. You'll be a very symmetrical, unusual person if you don't have any changes in those seam allowances. Again, always making sure that your front is staying nice and straight. I think the next thing you want to take a look at once you have those shoulders done is where those darts are ending up. Now we had to move the darts a significant distance. And when I say significance, I mean 3, maybe 1/2 inch. And you want to make sure that the end of the dart ends about 1 inch lower than the apex. The apex is your nipple. And you don't want the dart coming all the way up here. And I have seen some people who unfortunately have darts that come past the nipple. And it throws, it doesn't hang right, trust me. And but they don't know any better because they're not seamstresses. So anyway, we want that dart to be straight. So if we know we have to move it over 1/2 inch, that's all you have to do is you take that dart from that pattern piece, move it over the distance that you need, and then remark it exactly the same as before, unless you need to shorten or lengthen it. Tall ladies are likely to need to lengthen it. Short ladies are likely to need to shorten it. Okay, so now we have all that fit. Then the next thing is the side seams. And this is where you're going to, you'll stitch this piece into this side. So you'll stitch this into the back, but you'll leave this open, this whole thing open down here. And then you'll begin to pin it, keeping that seam. Now when you've got a nice dress form like I do, you can see the seam has been created. The side seam has been created right here and it's raised on the dress form. So I can keep my eye on that and make sure that that stays straight. That is, if my dress form was identical to Brenda, which it isn't. So I have to pin this on Brenda. And chances are you're going to need to do the same, because unless you have a very accurate, perfect double of your body as a dress form, it's going to be difficult to get that excellent fit. So we want that seam to be straight. Straight, now it's a curved seam, you know what I mean. Straight on the body, that it hangs straight. It isn't pitching back and it's not pitching forward. And to do that, you again may have very uneven seam allowances. There are cases, and if you go back to our sloper video, you'll see where we actually even had to add fabric. And oftentimes, especially if a more mature women are more rounded back here, so they need more fabric to come up here. And therefore, a lot of times we have to add a piece of fabric there on the muslin to see how much more we need in order to get it come all the way up to the back of the neck. Make sure yours comes up there too, because it is a collared shirt, and having a low back neckline is going to make that collar be very awkward. Okay, then once we have those side seams like we like them, and you can see over here, this one is hanging really nice and straight, and then we put the sleeve in. And once you, now if you've had to do something that you think is shortening up your arm side and you think it's bigger, then you can measure your seam allowance. You're going to mark your seam allowance all the way around, take your tape measure and measure it, and see if your sleeve is going to fit. And I can't go into all of that because I'd have to have pattern pieces, so let's just go back to the sloper. I think I did that 2 or 3 times in our videos before to show you how to measure that, how to make sure it's going to fit. If it's going to be too small, you may want to go up or go down a size in the sleeve. If the armhole is going to be too big, you may want to go up a size. If you end up with those issues, you are going to want to take a look at that sloper video on how to fit the sleeve. And we did that in the woven sloper. Okay, so that's basically it. But be sure you go in the correct order. Start with the shoulders. Center front first, shoulders. Then side seams. Keeping everything straight. Your center front is your straight grain. So if it is hanging straight on the body, then you know you're on the right track. Side seam hanging straight on the body, you're on the right track.
All right, so Jillian says that's the part she's most worried about, pinning the seams on herself. She says she feels like she's afraid she won't be able to get it straight.
It's nearly impossible to do that part all by yourself. It really is. Who was it?
Jillian.
Jillian. If you can find either a savvy friend, even if they don't sew, if they can kind of watch the little video with you and understand what they need to do, or find a sewing friend. If you belong to a guild or anything, find someone else to help you. But those side seams are going to be near impossible for you to try and pin and keep straight. You'll be pinning it and then looking, it's a little crooked. You'll be taking it off and on about 25 times, I would think, it'd be very frustrating, I think.
All right, here's a question we get a lot, so it's worth answering.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa says, when measuring the bust line, I've heard that the pattern size should be selected based on the upper bust line measurement versus the measurement across the bust line.
That's not true.
That's all.
I have a lot of lovely friends who are home sewing teachers, and they teach that, but it's not right. It is not right. We've fitted, is that right? Fitted. We have fit hundreds, if not thousands, of women through Connie's, and then me taking over Connie's, and it's always the bust size. It's never the upper bust. That's kind of ridiculous. But if you are using that system and it's working for you, or you're like a certain kind of pattern and that pattern gives you that upper bust measurement and that's working for you, then who am I to say that it's wrong? But as far as to teach somebody to do it that way, it's really not the correct way.
Okay.
That's all I got to say. But God bless
But
people.
thank you for asking, Teresa.
Yeah.
Definitely with our patterns, we have both the measurements and the finished garment measurements on the back too. So that should help you if you're trying to decide what size you might need.
And if you're a very small frame with a very large bust, then you're probably going to have to do a full bust adjustment But chances are, if that's your body type, you already know how to do that, because you probably have to do it with every pattern, because most home sewing patterns are made with a B cup. So take that into consideration. Another thing that I talked about several times, but I want to reiterate, is that these darts down this front, you may not need them.
That's okay.
And that's okay. I can't have them. They look ridiculous if I put them in, because my body doesn't do that. The reason we have darts is because the bust comes out, and then supposedly the body goes in a little bit and then straight down. But some of us have a little extra fluff, and others of us are just natural apple bodies. And so we're rounded torso, don't have the indents that need the darts. So don't just ignore them. That's 2 less seams you have to stitch. So if you are, especially when you're putting your muslin on, try it both ways. If you think you're in between that body type, then try it both ways and see which works for you. But again, a lot of us don't need that dart under the bust. Jessica left me again. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go get that sloper to see if I'm correct with the directions on the upper arm.
Okay. Sure. What should we talk about?
I'm pretty sure it's it.
She's going to go look. Did you guys see the newsletter that Janet put out? Where Debbie kind of recreated the cover-up I made out of the Baja for her granddaughter. I mean, how cute is that? It was sitting in front of me, so it made me think of that. I thought it was super cute. Not happy with the muslin sold at Joann's. Where could I get a good muslin yardage? Come on over, Sherry. We have a bunch here. Let me ask Janet. Janet, where can they get good muslin?
Right
Here. Here, that's what I thought. And as I looked down, I didn't know if we had any left. Let me look that up for you. And I'll put a link, Sherry. But it is on our website. I am just going to use the search function and give you the list here. The link, I mean. Okay, so I put the link in there for the muslin. If anybody needs good quality muslin, because like Sherry said, sometimes it's hard to find. Teresa, it sounded like a bologna sandwich to me. You know, I was going to say something, but I've never seen somebody teach that about measuring the upper bust, but I don't know if you could see my wheels spinning when Janet was talking about it. I'm like, I don't know what the reason would be for that. Because, I mean, I want my shirt to fit in the bust. I never really had that much of a problem with it fitting in the upper bust. Oh, Debbie says her granddaughter thinks she's a star. It's because she is, Debbie. She's a star.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So cute.
She is a star. Yes. Well, thanks for asking, Sherry, because now other people know that we sell it too. And I'm looking at a giant roll of it right here. So you all can have some. Muslin for you and muslin for you. She's looking for that. How much yardage do we need for this? Well, it depends on your size. And I'm looking at the pattern, but it's around 3 yards. And it also is if you're making the lengthened version, the tunic type version, or the short version. But the most you would need up to an extra large is about 3.5 yards. Debbie says our muslin is wonderful, so thank you.
I'm going to have to get back to her because I don't want to give her the wrong information.
Okay, send an email about, and I think that was Linda, right, Linda? About the upper bicep, because Janet wants to make sure she has the right information for you. So send an email reminding her, and she'll get back to you with that. Betsy, Brenda's going to put a credit on your account. I'm sure she'll send you an email. I will confirm.
Okay.
But if you bought from us before, I believe she can just add it to the account. Right, Brenda? Oh, she's right there.
Yeah.
You just add it to their account?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. That's what I was looking for, the spelling of her name.
Oh, okay. Yep, so she just adds it to your account, and the next time you go in, it'll take it off the total.
There she
Okay.
is.
All right, and Linda will send an email. Thank you, Linda.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I could put my fingers right on it, but you know how that is. But we'll get it.
All right. So we're very excited to start next week.
All right. Any other questions about preparing for the everybody's? We're happy to answer those today so you can be ready, but we'll be here by email as well as
Islandersewing@comcast.net is the best way to reach us. And we'll see you next week.
only thing I can say is by all means use a good quality 100% natural fabric. If you're going to participate in the sew along, I'm going to tell you, I've been teaching this shirt making for 25-30 years, and the people that come with the very inexpensive fabric, the muslin, the quilter's cotton, never have the same experience as the people that come with the shirting. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg, but you will do so much better. And what they would always say to me, I'd say, oh, you have that fabric won't work. Well, I didn't want to spend a lot of money. This is my first one. I'm afraid I'll make mistakes. Well, I understand that, but I also understand that you'll never get the concept down as easily as you will with the better fabric. It makes, I guess we don't really understand until we sew on the better fabrics how much easier they are to work with. And that's true about shirting, because it takes the press better, it takes the needle better. It's just going to be a whole lot easier to work with.
Yes, Pamela, quilter's cotton is different than shirting.
Please,
Yes.
please. Just look at is it Pamela you said?
Pamela.
Pamela, up at the top bar on my website, there is a thing called Sewing Mythbusters. I think it just says Mythbusters.
Yeah, it's a long
Go
one.
take a look at those. I've got a little article in there about quilter's cotton that will explain why you never want to use quilter's cotton for especially a button-up long-sleeve shirt.
Yes, so good question. Good question from Mary. Do you want to use the fine thread for construction as well as top stitching?
Yes, that'll be
Okay.
just fine.
Kathleen, no, you do not. Janet is going to cut, mark, and fuse next week, so you do not have to have that done.
You actually have 2 weeks to
Yep.
get your...
So you'll want to, and as soon as she came in late. So as soon as the video is over, it will be posted and you can rewatch it. Janet goes through the things that you need to do for next week, but essentially it's nothing unless you want to. So
And let's be clear about that fine thread. The reason we're using fine thread is because the regular 40 weight thread is so thick it kind of sits up on top of the fabric. It kind of looks awkward, and then it also causes it to pucker. So for top stitching, it looks horrible if you don't have a nice fine thread to get a nice flat seam for your top stitching, but also all your seams. You don't want any of your seams to be puckery. And so that's why the fine thread will make the huge difference. And if you're using lawn and the fine thread, probably a size 10 needle will be best. Universal.
okay.
All right.
So we're really excited. Again, if you have any questions, islandersewing@comcast.net, and we will be back here next week, Tuesday,
At 2
Eastern Time.
for Islander Sewing Systems.
All
Thanks so much for joining us, and we're so glad to be back.
All right. Have a good week. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.